Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. Yes, we do. Okay, so I'm back and with hopefully a quick video. I had no intentions of doing this video, but I was just, playing around in my little makeup collection and thought, why not? And as you already saw from the title and the thumbnail, I thought that today I would share with you all a couple of Valentine's Day palettes that you already have. Because I promise you, we all have a lot of them. So I'm going to try to do some that are very traditional, expected color stories, the pinks. But then I want to show you guys a couple more non-traditional palettes that you may not consider to be Valentine's Day themed or inspired that you might want to take a second look at. At the end of the day, makeup is very personal. You don't have to wear pink eyeshadow on Valentine's Day. You don't have to like pink eyeshadow at all. So none of these palettes are necessarily for Valentine's Day or have to be for Valentine's Day. Alright, without further ado, let's dive into it because I have a ton. I have a bunch of palettes. I'm going to try to do like very speed reviews or share my thoughts very quickly so we don't get stuck on one palette. And I'm going to try to go by brand. Okay, so to start things right off with a bang, I thought I would start with Mama Pat. You guys already know that Mama Pat, Miss Patricia, is known for her pink eyeshadow. So she is sort of the first person that I think about when I think about pink eyeshadow or even like Valentine's Day eyeshadow because most of her palettes tend to lean pink. You probably already know about Divine Rose 1, Divine Rose 2, Utopian Dream, aka Divine Rose 3. So I thought I would remind you guys of a couple of older palettes that you might already have in your collection. So first and foremost, I want to show you guys Eternal Eden. Now this is one of her quads. I can't remember when this came out. I think it was last year. And it is the pinkest quad I think I've ever seen of her. Now, none of these are special shades. You do get two sort of mattes, I believe, one satin shade and one true shimmer. But at the end of the day, when you look at this quad, you are only going to get a pink look. There's not a ton of versatility when it comes to this, but it is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. I really do like this when I use it, but like I said, it's monochromatic. You're really only going to get one look out of it. The other thing that I want to remind you guys of is her mini mothership. This is her 6-pan palette, and it was called Rose Decadence. Now, this is when you really started seeing Mama Pat come up with the 6-pan palettes that did not have the rope tie thing. Oops. And again, a very, very strong pink palette. These two shades here, the only ones that aren't really pink. This is definitely more of a copper orangey shade, and this is a gold. You know Patricia loves her golds. But very, very pink leaning palette as well. I do think that you can get really beautiful looks with this, but I also still think that this leans very monochromatic. So you're gonna get either a pink look with like a copper accent or a copper look with a pink accent. Like not much. And I will say that out of all of the palettes that I have from Mama Pat, I felt like these are not her best performing shadows. So the quality is not the best, but it's not horrible by any means. I've never tried a Pat McGrath palette where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's just that when you set the bar so high for quality, any slight deviation from perfection gets noticed, which is a lot to say it's not a bad palette. And the last palette that I want to highlight from Mama Pat is one that I searched high and low for, and that is the Mothership. Is this mini? It's another mini one. It's another one of her 6-pan palettes. It's called Mothership Subversive La Vie and Rose. Now it has the same packaging as the big Mothership, the big Subversive Mothership, very different color story. And when I saw this, I knew I needed to have it. This is no longer sold, but I was able to find it on Poshmark. And if you were a true Pat McGrath stan, you probably already have it in your collection. But this is one of her best palettes. If I'm being honest, the quality in this is top notch. Like you don't get a lot of really, these kind of like vibrant purples from Mama Pat. This is a beautiful, stunning, vibrant pink. It reminds me a lot of the pink in Divine Rose 2, I think. And even this like light purple, pinky shade, stunning. And even though this is one of an older palette, I will say that the quality in this is exceptional. Like, look at that. So beautiful. So these 3 palettes are 3 older ones that you may have forgotten existed in your collection because they don't necessarily get raved about as much as the others. But they are amazing, and I do think that they're perfect for Valentine's Day. Now, the next brand that I want to talk about is another brand that is known for its pinks, and that is none other than Miss Charlotte Tilbury. Y'all already know if you're gonna get pink, Charlotte will give you pink. I don't know why she doesn't get as much slack as like Mama Pat does for the pinks, but anyways. So for this, I actually pulled out a couple of my quads from Charlotte because I definitely don't reach for this. They're not stored in a way where they're easily accessible, if I'm being honest. So when it comes to using the quads, I have to dig for them, put them out, make sure that they're in my face. But first, I do want to show you guys the OG, the palette I think everybody talks about, and that is Pillow Talk. You can already see why this is very Valentine's Day themed. It's very soft and subtle and feminine. You get all of these pink shades. This is the only row that leans really neutral. These three trios are definitely very pinky, and they give you really nice soft pink shades. Like, that's how I can describe it. Now, Charlotte is not a high impact brand, so you're not going to get really shiny shimmers, but I will say that the looks that this does create is absolutely stunning. And even if you don't like pink, I think you would really like that because you can definitely tone it down with some of those more neutral brown shades that are in there. And then, you know, Charlotte's love of pink definitely translates into her quads. So the first one that I want to show you guys is Walk of No Shame. So there is a blush with this same shade name as well, but you can already see very, very pink, maroonish color story. Next, I want to show you all Mesmerizing Maroon. As the name suggests, this is a very, very maroon color story. And once you see these two next to each other, you can see the similarities. Like, it's still that very sort of mauvey, pinky, maroonish color story. So very, very similar. The other one that I want to show you guys is probably my favorite quad from Charlotte that I've tried so far. I have a number of quads that I haven't actually tried yet that are in my collection. And that is Queen of Glow. I think that this has some really high impact shimmers in there in terms of the toppery shades, and I think that this is beautiful. You are going to get a very pink leaning look because this deep matte shade here definitely is more of that maroony, purple, pinky shade. So once you blend it out, it definitely gives that pinkish look, but these are definitely more coppery shades with a hint of pink in there. So I feel like you're going to get a more pink purple leaning look, but this is absolutely stunning. It's amazing. I love that the shimmers tend to be more sort of gold, neutral, champagne-y. That gives it a little bit of versatility. And then the last quad that I want to mention is one that I think is really unique to her collection because Charlotte loves all of these pinks, and it's really hard to find non-pink quads. And this is Glamour Muse. Now, this really caught my eye because, one, there's this stunning purple shade here that I think is very rare for Charlotte, and that this is a cool toned palette. So I think purple is also equally well known for Valentine's Day as pink. So I think that this is a really stunning palette for Valentine's Day because you get that really nice rich purple, but then you get a very unique cool toned color story to go with that, giving this just a lot of uniqueness and something just different for Charlotte, in my opinion. All right, on to the next brand. I want to talk about a brand that I love, but I definitely don't showcase as much as I should on my brand, and that is Nabla Cosmetics. Nabla has one of my favorite formulas. They are a really nice sort of Italian formula that gives you multiple finishes. What I love about Nabla is that when you get a palette from them, when you get a 6-pan palette from them, you get a variety of textures. You'll get mattes, you'll get shimmers, you'll get metallics, you'll get topper shades, you'll get more creamy shades. You'll get a little bit of everything, which I think not all brands offer. Like, some brands will give you some shimmers and some mattes, and the shimmers are all the same. But I love the versatility that Nabla offers. So the two palettes that I have here are their Cutie Palettes, which are their small 6-pan palettes. It's a really nice collection. I picked up all of these at Ulta during their 24 Days of Beauty. Is it 24? I think it is 24 Days of Beauty. So they were 50% off, which I think makes them $12.50. I believe originally these are $24 a piece. So first we have the Coral Palette. As you can tell, this is, exactly what it sounds like. It's a reddish, pinkish palette. I love that you get this really rich chocolate brown, which I think is perfect for deepening up the outer V. This pink shade is a really nice transition that would work on multiple skin tones. This, like I said, will deepen up the outer V. And I love that it gives a little bit of versatility in this palette, is that you can go really pink with your looks, or if you wanted a really nice red look, which I think is also really perfect for Valentine's Day, you could do that. I could see so many different looks, even though this color story definitely feels like, oh, it's another pink palette. I think you really do get the versatility because you can go pink, brown, or red. So that, I think, makes this a perfect palette. The next one that I want to mention is the Metropolitan Palette. This, I think, is really unique. So as you can tell, it definitely is pretty pink. You do get that pink matte and another deep brown matte. So you can see that they're setting the stage for this to be very pink. But the shimmers in this palette are not pink, which I think is what makes this very unique. Because you can lay down this really nice pink shade and pair it with any of these shimmers. Now, I do think the gold in this is a little bit out of place, but I like that you get this really, really nice sort of grungy shade that makes this super versatile, and that you can get something that leans a little bit more cool toned in this palette. And that white shade, Alaska, is a duochrome, so when you set it down, you will get a little bit of a pink flip to it. So I think this is a really nice, unique palette. As all Nabla palettes are. They really do have very unique color stories. So the next brand that I want to talk about is one that I think we've all kind of forgotten about a little bit, but I'm pretty sure everyone has a ton of their palettes, and that is Miss ABH. Now, ABH used to be that girl, and I don't know why they've released less and less palettes recently, especially this kind of format. But I wanted to flag sort of two palettes that I have in my collection, and you probably have them too because they're definitely older. And the first is the ABH, the OG Novena palette, not the Novena line. And this, I think, is perfect because look at it. It's a purple pink palette, like stunning. You get the purple mattes, the pink mattes. You do get some more neutral shades here, so if you wanted to lean into that neutral vibe, you could. But you do get, you know, these very, very complementary pink purple shimmers. So I feel like this is a no-brainer when it comes to like a really nice pinky purple Valentine's Day look. But what I love about this palette is that when you really look at some of these shimmers, they tend to be very much on the grungy side. So if you're not the type that wants a really nice soft and airy pink look, but you want something that's a little bit more edgy, a little bit more grungy, I believe that palette will give you that. On the flip side though, I also wanted to mention the Amrezy palette. Now this definitely gives me Barbie vibes. So it doesn't lean as grunge as the Novena palette, and definitely more into the sparkly side. This palette has pressed glitters in it. If you don't like pressed glitters, you don't have to use them, obviously, but you might not like this palette because it has pressed glitters in there. But I think it does give that option that if you do want something that's a little bit more girly, a little bit more sort of like shiny and sparkly, you can use those pressed glitters. And like I said, it does give me that Barbie vibes, so you can see why I think that this is very much a Valentine's Day appropriate palette. Like this is a really, really bright pink satin shade. You do get some deeper shades that help you to, you know, create that depth in the outer V. But these two shimmers here are chunky glitters if you want to add a little bit extra sparkle. And there is a really unique blue shade in this palette. So like this is a really nice change slash pop of color. But when you cover that, you realize that the rest of the palette is very much pinky, purple, stereotypical pink palette, I guess. So one more brand I want to mention, and then I'm going to go into some of the individual palettes that I have from a number of different brands. So Natasha Denona. You guys know that Natasha Denona, like Mama Pat, like some of these other brands, has a ton of very pink shades. So I want to show you guys a couple of palettes. Now the first one that I want to mention is the Natasha Denona Love Palette. I believe this actually came out for Valentine's Day, so obviously it was created with this holiday in mind. Now I went ahead and rearranged my Love Palette because I did not like the Love Palette. So this is not going to look like what, you know, everybody else is going to look like. But overall, even with the way I rearranged this, I still think that this is a very, very Valentine's pinky purple reddish palette. So what I tried to do was keep, you know, specific rows. So this is a very pink row, this is a very purple row, this is a little bit more maroon reddish shades, and I really like this. I really like that I get all of the pink purple shades that I want in this palette. I can't remember what the OG looks like, but I know that it was created for Valentine's and it was very pinkish or pink leaning. Now, the other one that I want to mention by Natasha is her Lila palette. I did see that this is on sale at Sephora for 50% off, and I heard that it's being discontinued. If you were ever interested in this palette, now is the time to get it. If you can't purchase it online, I would definitely say check your stores, see if you can do buy online or pick up in store, because this will sell out. So the Lila palette is an interesting one because when you look at the palette, it definitely, you think this is going to be a purple palette. But it is more pink than it is purple, and it is more grunge than I think a lot of people expect. I've only used this a couple of times, but I really like it. I really like that this is more grunge and more cool toned than, I guess, what I was expecting. I thought I was going to get a really purple palette. It is not that, but I do really, really enjoy this. It has a lot of depth, so if you are a deeper complexion and you're worried about depth, all of these shades will show up on you. So I really like this. If you didn't want something that was super traditional, like light pink, airy kind of vibes, and you wanted something that was a little bit more grunge, I think this is the perfect grunge palette. And lastly, I want to mention 2 5 pans. Now, I picked these up, I want to say, I don't think it was BoxyCharm. No, I picked these up on Sephora because at some point, all of her like 5 pan palettes were like 50% off. So these were like $24, I believe. And this is the Coral palette and the Cranberry palette. Now, they are very much peachy pinky palettes. And I remember buying this and thinking to myself, did I need both? Because the color stories are so very, very similar. And I mean, I definitely didn't need both, but I am glad that I have both in my collection because they do offer something very, very different. This is definitely the more pink purple palette, so you do get that mauvey maroon kind of color story with a really nice purple. And this one has those red shades, which I think gives it something a little bit different, and then the peachy shades. So I feel like this is more red and peach, and the other one is more pink purple. So 2 different palettes, very similar. Do I think you need both? Honestly, probably not, but I wanted both. All right, so now I just have a bunch of individual palettes from different brands. The first one I want to mention, don't get mad at me, I bought it because it was on like a super sale, and that is the Kkw Crystallized Palette. The packaging is super basic, but when you open it up, so beautiful. I almost didn't buy this. I think I paid $13 for this because I don't know what was going on with the brand, but everything was on sale, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. This is a really beautiful, cool toned palette. Now, the Kkw formula is different. I don't think it's anything special. I think it definitely was overpriced. But it's not a bad formula, and I am glad that I have this in my collection, and I think that it is pretty and you get pretty looks. Now, I do think that these are a little bit softer than some people might like, but overall I really like the formula. And what I liked about this palette is that it is a very cool toned, much more grungy palette than a stereotypical Valentine's pinky purple palette. This shade here is a really, really nice duochrome. So it has a little bit of a purple, grayish, bluish flip to it that I think is actually really beautiful. The next one I want to mention is my Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette. Now, this one you might not originally think of as a holiday palette. I actually feel like this gives me a lot of spring vibes. When you really, really kind of dive into this palette, you will realize that it's really a lot of purples and pinks. Like, that's pretty much the entire color story of it, with the exception of these really nice kind of orange shades, which I guess gave it that fall pumpkin spicy vibes. But I think that this is a really nice pink purple palette. Like, and to be quite honest, I actually looked at my gingerbread spice palette and the extra spicy version, and that one also works as well. You guys already know that these tin palettes that they release for holidays tend to have the same color story. So I think whether or not you have pumpkin spice, gingerbread spice, any of them, they would work well. Okay, 3 palettes left. I want to mention this Kaleidos palette. It's the Futurism 3 Astro Pink. First of all, packaging is everything. And then this is the color story. It's so beautiful. Like, it is stunning. I think that this is also a pretty unique color story. Again, you get these kind of cool tone neutral shades. You get this really nice kind of purple, maroon, mauvey matte that I think is beautiful. You get this black which has these shimmers in there. So if you really wanted something that's a little bit on the sparkly side. And then you get this blue shade, which is actually a duochrome. So it flips purple and blue, which I think is what could give you a really, really nice, unique look. Now, I know that this might not seem... It's definitely one that I saw and I was like, huh, is that Valentine's? It could be. It would just be a very different look. But I kind of like that a lot. Then I want to show you guys the MAC eyeshadows, the Feast Your Eyes palette. This was actually some friend mail, and I really, really love this, y'all. Like, this is so beautiful. This is an all shimmer palette, and you could actually really, wait, I lied. There are three mattes, and the rest are shimmers. But what I like about this palette is that the shimmers are really soft. I would say that they're more satin, and then you get topper shades. But what I love about this is that if you wanted to, you could create some really nice looks with just taking a matte shade and putting a topper on top of it. Like, this is one of the toppers and this is one of the mattes. Like, I could imagine you put the matte on and then you go on top of it with that nice shimmer shade, and beautiful. Like, it doesn't look as good on my hand, but I'm just saying you can create these really simple, like, two-step shades because of the versatility of this palette. So you do get those, like I said, nice topper shades, but you also get some really nice true shimmers there that have some pigment and some base to it. So I really like this. I think this is a great all year round palette, and this would be perfect for Valentine's Day. And then the last palette I want to mention is one that I had no intentions of picking up, but I'm really glad that I did. And that is the Odin's Eye Red Dragon palette. This is the collab that they did with Judy. And this is a very red palette. So it's like reds, and then you get a little bit of greens in there. Now, I think when we think of Valentine's Day, we're often thinking of those pinky purple shades. But I also think, you know, red is the color of love, it's the color of fire, it's the color of passion. And because this palette definitely has those really rich red shades, this would be a really perfect one for Valentine's Day if you were looking for a more red look versus that pink purple-ish look. Alright, that was a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of the palettes. I definitely have a ton more in my collection. I know you have a bunch in your collection as well. So don't get fooled by all of these brand releases that are out here spouting these brand new Valentine's Day collections, because I trust and believe you already have those shades 10, 12, 13 times over. Alright, well, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, I would absolutely love if you would consider hitting that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you have not already done so. Please feel free to share this with a friend who you think might enjoy the content. And as always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye!